What you're about to see is a clip from the Brady Bunch that I've been trying to tape for years now. It is Mike Brady saying fuck.
At first glance, it looks like your average wholesome Brady Bunch intro photo. Smiles? Check. Retro outfits? Face card? Definitely. But something's not quite right, and no, it's not a Photoshop fail. This iconic image, a piece of an iconic clip, hides a strange but eventually became a hilarious blooper that confused fans and viewers for decades. It's the kind of mistake that slips by in plain sight, only to become internet legend years later. Let's zoom in on the moment the Brady Bunch got a little too candid. The forever blooper. When you think about classic TV bloopers, your mind probably jumps to actors flubbing lines or bursting into laughter mid-scene. But when it comes to the Brady Bunch, one of the most iconic bloopers wasn't loud or goofy. It was so subtle that many viewers didn't even notice it at first. Yet once you do notice it, you can't unsee it. It's the kind of mistake that makes you rewind and laugh out loud, not because someone messed up on purpose, but because it's such a weird accidental gem that somehow made it through final editing. We're talking about the scene in the opening credits. Yes, the opening credits, where Marcia straight up elbows poor little Cindy in the face. It happens super fast, and you have to be looking closely. In the iconic 9-panel intro, where all the Brady family members are looking at each other in a grid like a very awkward Zoom call, there's a part where the kids are all turning their heads to look at one another. As Marcia turns her head and gestures with her arm, a kind of enthusiastic movement, she accidentally whacks Cindy right in the nose. It's not a gentle tap either. Cindy's head jerks back slightly, and for a split second you can see her flinch. But instead of reshooting the scene or editing around it, the producers just left it in. Every single episode. It plays at the top of every show, like a little Easter egg for people with sharp eyes. It's like a blooper that became canon. What makes this blooper especially hilarious is the total contrast between what's supposed to be happening and what actually happens. The intro is all sunshine, smiles, and family-friendly perfection. The very image of wholesome 70s television. But right there, smack in the middle of the perfect American family, there's a moment of accidental sibling-on-sibling violence. It's so quick that it doesn't disrupt the tone, but once you notice it, it adds this weird layer of realism. Like, yeah, of course big sisters accidentally elbow their younger sisters sometimes. That's what siblings do. And the fact that this blooper is unedited, forever etched into TV history, is what makes it so iconic. A lot of shows go out of their way to polish everything, to make every frame perfect. But somehow, this little mistake slipped through and became part of the legacy. Maybe the editors missed it. Maybe they saw it and thought, it's fine. Or maybe they just didn't have time to fix it. Whatever the reason, it's there. A small, human imperfection in a world that was trying so hard to be squeaky clean. That unedited elbow to the face sums up the Brady Bunch perfectly. The show was all about family, with all its love, chaos, awkwardness, and accidental injuries. It reminds us that even the most polished TV families have their bloopers, and sometimes they're the best part. So next time you catch a rerun, keep your eyes peeled during the intro. That blink and you'll miss it moment of Marcia's arm and Cindy's unlucky nose might just become your favorite part of the whole show, although the next bloopers might be more familiar to the show's fans. More goofs from the bunch. One of the most famous types of bloopers involved visible crew members or equipment in the shot. In several episodes, you can spot stage lights, microphones, and even the edge of the set if you're really paying attention. One example that fans love to mention is when a boom mic clearly dips into the frame during a scene in the kitchen. It's only there for a moment, but once you see it, it's hard to unsee. Another category of Brady bloopers comes from continuity errors. These mistakes happen when something doesn't match from one shot to the next, and the Brady Bunch had plenty. There are episodes where a character's hairstyle changes mid-scene or where props suddenly move positions without anyone touching them. In one case, the kids are outside playing and their clothes are soaking wet, but seconds later, they're dry again, clearly filmed at different times. It's funny to catch these slip-ups because they remind you that behind the perfectly choreographed family antics was a very human production crew just trying to keep up with the fast pace of TV filming. Then there are the times when actors flubbed their lines or broke character. Since the Brady Bunch was mostly shot with tight scripts and young actors, line mistakes happened fairly often. Some of the child actors would forget what they were supposed to say or giggle during serious scenes, and sometimes those bloopers even made it into the final cut, especially if there wasn't time for a reshoot. One popular blooper involves Robert Reed, who played Mike Brady, getting so tongue-tied trying to deliver a long bit of dialogue that everyone on set cracked up, including him. That kind of off-script moment gave the show a bit of real-life charm that fans still appreciate. Physical bloopers were also common. Props would malfunction, people would trip, or doors would refuse to open. In one episode, a sliding glass door gets stuck, and the actors awkwardly struggle to open it while trying to stay in character. And there's the memorable moment when Cindy, Susan Olsen, accidentally hits herself in the face with her own jump rope during a scene and visibly flinches, but the take was still used. These kinds of goofs make the Brady world feel a little less polished, but a lot more relatable. They show how even in a world of perfect families and picture book morals, real life always finds a way to sneak in through a creaky prop or a forgotten line. The cute blunders in the show don't take away from the show's legacy. They actually add to it. Fans enjoy rewatching episodes not just for the nostalgia and sweetness, but also to catch those funny little mistakes that make you laugh and remind you that even the most wholesome shows are made by real, imperfect people. Whether it's a camera shadow, a missed line, or a hairstyle that magically changes mid-scene, these bloopers are part of what make the Brady Bunch feel timeless and charmingly human. A cultural icon. This show is one of those shows that managed to become more famous after it ended than it ever was while it was on the air. But it had to start somewhere. The show first premiered in 1969, created by Sherwood Schwartz, who also gave the world Gilligan's Island. The premise was simple but fresh for its time. A widow with 3 daughters marries a widower with 3 sons, and together they become a big blended family. It was a sweet, wholesome setup that reflected the growing diversity of family structures in real life, even if it wrapped those realities up in a very idealized sitcom-style bow. The early days of the Brady Bunch weren't exactly groundbreaking in terms of ratings. In fact, when it first aired on ABC, the show received lukewarm reviews and pretty average viewer numbers. It was never a top-rated show during its original 5-season run, which lasted from 1969 to 1974. Critics didn't take it seriously, often calling it too saccharine or unrealistic. But that was part of its charm. It wasn't trying to be edgy or dramatic. Instead, it focused on the small, everyday struggles that kids and parents face, things like sibling rivalry, crushes, school troubles, and learning how to work together as a family. The show's lighthearted tone and clean-cut morals made it especially appealing to families watching together, even if it never won big awards or dominated the Nielsen charts. What's truly fascinating about the Brady Bunch is how its real success came after it went off the air. In the years following its cancellation in 1974, the show found a second life in syndication. Reruns started airing during after-school hours and quickly built a massive fan base among kids and teenagers who hadn't even been born when the show first aired. It became a sort of comfort food TV, colorful, easy to follow, and full of heart. The catchy theme song didn't hurt either. Before long, the Bradys were everywhere. Lunchboxes, comic books, dolls, even a variety show called The Brady Bunch Hour in the late 70s. Although that spin-off was a bit of a disaster, it showed just how deeply the Brady family had become embedded in pop culture. By the 90s, the Brady legacy had reached its peak in an unexpected way. That's when the show got a hilarious and affectionate parody with the Brady Bunch movie in 1995. The film placed the ultra-70s Bradys in the middle of the 90s, keeping their personalities and fashion totally untouched. It worked because it leaned into the show's corniest aspects and made them funny again. The movie was a surprise hit and introduced the Bradys to a whole new generation. Suddenly, people who had grown up watching reruns were now watching with their own kids, or just appreciating the retro vibe and family-friendly humor. It was the moment the Brady Bunch went from being a simple sitcom to becoming a full-blown American cultural icon. Proof? Let's see how much they were loved statistics-wise. The Brady house and audience reception. One of the most iconic parts of the show, besides the kids themselves, is without a doubt the Brady house. That two-story suburban home with the stone front, open staircase, and orange and green 70s decor has become one of the most recognizable TV homes in history. What's funny, though, is that the actual house used for exterior shots in Studio City, California, was a one-story home that looked totally different inside. All the interiors were filmed on a soundstage, and the layout didn't actually make architectural sense if you tried to connect it to the exterior. Still, fans didn't care. It felt like home. So much so that HGTV actually bought the real house decades later and turned it into a real-life replica of the Brady set in a special renovation series. That's how deep the love goes. Now, you can't even talk about the Brady Bunch without humming the theme song. Here's the story of a lovely lady. You're probably already singing the rest in your head. That theme is one of the most famous in TV history, and it did a great job of explaining the premise to new viewers. A widowed man with 3 boys marries a woman with 3 girls, and they become one big blended family. It's cheerful, catchy, and completely unforgettable. What's cool is that in the first season, professional singers recorded the theme, but from season 2 onward, the Brady kids themselves sang it. That made it feel even more personal and authentic. The opening grid of 9 squares with each character looking around, essentially the original Zoom call, only added to the charm. It's corny by today's standards, sure, but it's also incredibly warm and inviting. When it comes to audience reception and ratings, things get a little surprising. Despite how beloved the show became in reruns, The Brady Bunch was never a top-rated show during its original run on ABC from 1969 to 1974. It didn't crack the top 30 in Nielsen ratings at any point. Critics at the time often dismissed it as too sugary or unrealistic. But that actually became part of its appeal. The show was comfort food, reliable, optimistic, and lighthearted. It didn't try to tackle the intense social issues that other shows of the era like All in the Family did. Instead, it focused on relatable family problems, sharing a bathroom, school crushes, getting grounded. And once it hit syndication in the late 70s and 80s, it found a whole new audience of kids who loved watching it after school. That's when it really blew up and became the cultural icon we remember today. Spin-offs, TV movies, and even 2 parody-style theatrical films in the 90s kept the Brady spirit alive for new generations. Even though the Brady Bunch wasn't a ratings juggernaut at the time, its legacy has far outlasted flashier shows from the same era. Between the quirky, cozy house, the ridiculously catchy theme song, and the pure nostalgic glow it still gives off, the Brady Bunch continues to be a touchstone of American pop culture. Whether you love it for its campy charm or its innocent optimism, there's no denying that the Bradys left a permanent mark on television history. The show was never really about realism or high-stakes drama. It was about togetherness, optimism, and the idea that no matter how different people are, they can learn to live and love as one big family. In a time of social and political upheaval during the late 60s and early 70s, that message was quietly powerful. And while the show may have started off slow and flown under the radar during its original run, its lasting success shows that sometimes the most genuine and heartfelt stories take a little longer to get noticed. But once they do, they stick, just like the Bradys. Let's get to know them one by one. Meet the Brady family and friends. The show worked so well because of the strong chemistry between the actors and their ability to make these squeaky clean characters feel real, or at least real enough to care about. Each actor brought something unique to the table, and together they created a TV family that fans still adore today. Let's start with Robert Reed, who played Mike Brady, the calm and collected architect dad. Reed was actually a classically trained actor with a Shakespearean background. And funny enough, the Brady Bunch was not his dream gig. He reportedly clashed with creator Sherwood Schwartz behind the scenes because he thought the show's scripts were too silly or unrealistic. Still, you'd never know it watching him on screen. He always came across as warm, wise, and totally believable as the father of 3 boys and stepfather to 3 girls. Even though he didn't love the role, he gave it his all, and fans loved him for it. Then there's Florence Henderson, who played Carol Brady, the fashionable and supportive mom. Florence had a Broadway background and a great singing voice, which she occasionally got to show off on the show. Carol didn't have a defined career like Mike. She was just kind of always around. But Henderson made the character shine. She played Carol as nurturing but not overly soft. She had spunk and humor, and Florence's real-life charm made her a perfect TV mom. Off-screen, she embraced the Brady legacy, appearing in reunions and even spoofing her character in later years. Ann B. Davis played Alice Nelson, the family's hilarious and loyal housekeeper. Alice was more than just someone who cleaned the house. She was basically part of the family. With her dry wit and deadpan delivery, Davis stole plenty of scenes. Before the Brady Bunch, Ann had already won Emmys for her role in The Bob Cummings Show, so she was no newcomer. She gave Alice a heart and a backbone, and she was the glue that often held the household and the comedy together. Her character was truly one of a kind. Maureen McCormick played the oldest Brady daughter, Marcia Brady. And let's face it, Marcia is one of the most quoted lines from the whole show. Maureen was the picture-perfect teenager with long blonde hair, a bright smile, and a kind heart. Though the character could be a little full of herself at times, McCormick did a great job playing the classic overachiever and teen idol. Off-screen, she struggled with fame and later opened up about her personal challenges, but she always remained proud of her Brady roots. Eve Plum played Jan Brady, the middle daughter who was famously insecure about living in Marcia's shadow. Jan was the moody one, emotional, awkward, and always looking for her place in the world. Eve Plum handled those moments with sensitivity and sincerity. giving Jan a depth that stood out, even on such a light-hearted show. Interestingly, Eve was the only original cast member who didn't return for the reunion variety shows in the late 70s, preferring to move on to other acting opportunities. Susan Olsen was the youngest of the girls, playing Cindy Brady, the adorable one with the lisp and the pigtails. Cindy was curious, bubbly, and loved tattling on her siblings. Susan was just a little kid when the show started, but she quickly became a fan favorite thanks to her sweet delivery and cute mannerisms. As she got older, she stayed involved with Brady projects and embraced the role that made her famous. Cindy might have been the baby of the family, but Susan gave her plenty of personality. On the boys' side, Barry Williams played Greg Brady, the oldest Brady son and a bit of a teen heartthrob. Greg was cool, into music, and often found himself trying to be the leader of the pack. Barry leaned into the role with charm and a wink, especially in later episodes where Greg started growing out his hair and writing songs. Off-screen, Barry was the most visibly active cast member post-show, writing a memoir and regularly appearing in Brady Bunch reunions and spoofs. Christopher Knight took on the role of Peter Brady, the middle brother who often found himself stuck between Greg's confidence and Bobby's cuteness. Peter was the everyman of the family, sometimes clumsy, sometimes funny, but always likable. Knight wasn't the most outgoing of the bunch at the time, but he hit his stride later in life with reality TV appearances and The Surreal Life. Fans appreciated his honesty and his embrace of the Brady legacy. Last but not least, Mike Lookinland played Bobby Brady, the youngest of the bunch. Bobby was full of energy, curious about the world, and often trying to prove he was just as big and brave as his older brothers. Mike brought a real sweetness to the role and was one of the most natural child actors on the show. Interestingly, he had naturally blonde hair, but it was dyed darker to match his TV brothers. Today, he stays relatively low-key but has nothing but fondness for his Brady past. These 9 actors, along with some recurring guest stars, helped create one of the most memorable TV families of all time. They weren't just characters, they were part of America's living room for generations, and so are the extra casts, the side characters. The show had a handful of side characters who popped in and out, some leaving a lasting impression, and others vanishing without much of a trace. Even though they weren't always front and center, these characters had interesting roles and, in some cases, rather mysterious exits. Take Sam Franklin, for example. Played by Alan Melvin, Sam was Alice's lovable butcher boyfriend. He only appeared in 8 episodes, but those appearances were sprinkled throughout all 5 seasons of the show. Even when he wasn't on screen, Sam got plenty of shout-outs in the dialogue. Alice would talk about him, go on dates with him off-screen, and clearly, he was a big part of her life. By the time the made-for-TV movie The Brady Girls Get Married aired in 1981, Alice and Sam were officially married. So even though Sam wasn't around a lot, his presence definitely stuck. Then there's Tiger, the family dog. Tiger was part of the show in the early days, but his story is actually pretty sad. The original dog playing Tiger died during the first season, and the producers tried to replace him, but the new dog didn't work out well on set. So, they kind of phased Tiger out. He still showed up occasionally in season 2, but after the episode The Impractical Joker, he disappeared completely. What's funny is that his doghouse stayed in the backyard for the rest of the series, even though the dog was long gone. No explanation was ever given, he just kind of vanished. Mr. Phillips, Mike Brady's boss, was another character who showed up briefly but was mentioned a lot. Played by Jack Collins, he appeared only in season 2 and only in 3 episodes. Still, Anytime Mike had work drama or a big architectural project, Mr. Phillips's name would usually come up. He was one of those off-screen presences who added to Mike's professional life without taking too much screen time. And then there's Cousin Oliver, the character that fans love to hate. Robbie Rist played Oliver, who was Carol Brady's young nephew. He moved in with the family during the last part of Season 5 while his parents were off in South America. The idea was to fill the age gap since the youngest Brady kids were growing up. At that point, Cindy was already 12, and the producers thought the show needed a fresh young face. But the addition backfired. Fans didn't like Oliver, seeing him as an unnecessary tag-along who disrupted the Brady balance. Even Lloyd Schwartz, the son of creator Sherwood Schwartz, admitted later on that Oliver threw things off. Oliver only appeared in the final 6 episodes of the show, and that just happened to be when ABC pulled the plug in 1974. His addition is actually so infamous that it inspired the term Cousin Oliver Syndrome, used to describe the last-ditch move of adding a new kid to a fading TV show in hopes of saving it. These characters added layers to the Brady Bunch. Some were memorable and charming, like Sam, and others, like Oliver, were maybe not so beloved. Whether they stayed the whole way or vanished mid-season, R.I.P. Tiger, they each had a part in shaping the quirky, sometimes chaotic world of the Brady family. After the show and reunions, what's really fascinating is how the show just refused to die. Over the decades, the Brady family kept coming back in every form imaginable, through spin-offs, sequels, reunion specials, and even a few bizarre reboots. Honestly, the Brady Bunch franchise is like a boomerang that never stops coming back, no matter how much time passes. Right after the original series ended in 1974, the first major spin-off was The Brady Kids, a Saturday morning cartoon that aired from 1972 to 1973. Yes, it started before the main show even ended. This animated version tried to give the kids their own spotlight and added some wild elements like talking pets and magical bird friends. It was very much a product of its time and tried to catch the same groovy, psychedelic wave as shows like Josie and the Pussycats and Scooby-Doo. It didn't last long, but it was the first sign that the Brady universe wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. Then came the Brady Bunch Hour in 1976-77, which is truly one of the strangest chapters in Brady history. This variety show turned the family into a song and dance troupe and had them performing musical numbers in full-on 70s glam. Only a few of the original actors returned, and the whole thing was so surreal that it became almost legendary for how campy and weird it was. Still, it kept the Bradys on the radar and paved the way for more serious attempts to continue the story. One of those attempts was The Brady Girls Get Married, 1981, a TV movie that focused on Marcia and Jan getting married in a double wedding. It was cheesy, but fans ate it up, and it led to The Brady Brides, a short-lived sitcom that aired in 1981. This show followed Marcia and Jan living together with their new husbands, turning the Brady household dynamic into a roommate-style comedy. It only lasted 1 season, but it proved there was still an appetite for these characters, especially among nostalgic fans. Probably the most ambitious and dramatic spin-off was A Very Brady Christmas, 1988, a made-for-TV movie that reunited almost the entire original cast and showed what the family was up to as adults. It was surprisingly emotional and tackled more serious issues, like job struggles, marital tension, and family loss, while still keeping that warm, fuzzy Brady spirit. The movie was a ratings hit, which led to yet another spin-off series, The Bradys, 1990. This one went full drama, ditching the laugh track and presenting the Brady family in a more realistic, grown-up light. But audiences weren't quite ready for a serious version of their favorite sitcom family, and it was canceled after just a few episodes. Fast forward to the 90s, and the Bradys got a fresh new spin, not through sequels, but through parody. The Brady Bunch movie, 1995, and its sequels, a Very Brady sequel in 1996, and The Brady Bunch in the White House in 2002, reimagined the Bradys as stuck in the 70s while the world around them had clearly moved on. The movies were hilariously self-aware, poking fun at the show's corniness while still celebrating its legacy. These films introduced the Brady world to a whole new generation and showed that the family could still be relevant, just in a totally different tone. Even into the 2000s and 2010s, the Brady legacy kept going strong. There were reunion interviews, behind-the-scenes specials, and even a Very Brady renovation, 2019, where the original cast helped HGTV turn the real house used for exterior shots into a fully Brady-accurate replica inside and out. Seeing the cast together again, older but still very much in sync, reminded fans why they loved the show in the first place. It was a perfect blend of nostalgia and home reno reality TV, and it struck a chord with both old fans and curious newcomers. What is it about the Brady Bunch that keeps bringing it back? Maybe it's the sense of family, or the optimism, or the simple charm of it all. Maybe it's because the Bradys feel like old friends we can always return to, no matter how the world changes. Whatever the reason, the endless spin-offs, sequels, and reunions show that the Brady family isn't just a relic of the past. They're a lasting part of our pop culture DNA. And honestly, with how things go, we probably haven't seen the last of them yet. Have you seen the show yet? And have you caught one blooper? Drop your comments below and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more uploads.